Hi, welcome to your yoga podcast. We're going to start today's practice in a comfortable seated position. With our shoulders relaxed and our spine stacked tall, growing tall through the crown of the head. And if you're uncomfortable sitting on the floor, you can either sit on a block like this, or if you don't have a block, you can roll up the back of your mat and sit on there. So anything to elevate your hips, that'll help to allow your knees to drop open. And then let's just sit in this comfortable seated position with our eyes closed and starting to tune into our breath in this present moment. So letting everything about the day that's come before, just letting that go and letting what's waiting for us outside the door go as well. Just using our breath to center ourselves into this practice in this present moment. And if you know Ujjayi breathing, closing the back of your throat and breathing through your nose, inhale and exhaling through your nose. And with the throat closed, you'll form a little bit of a whisper breath. And that also helps to generate some heat. And it's also nice to have that sound so you can check in during the practice. Check in to make sure you're still breathing. And feeling that breath as you inhale, starting in the low belly and moving to the middle abdomen and then all the way into the upper chest. So you're taking a nice big inhale in 3 parts. And then exhaling. And slowly opening your eyes, and if you have the mat rolled up behind you, sliding that back and rolling forward so that you're on all fours with your shoulders stacked right above your wrists and your hips stacked above your knees. And so we'll move into some cat-cow, so starting to warm up the spine. On an inhalation, we'll drop the belly to the floor, open the heart and lift the chin. And on an exhalation, we're going to tilt the tail to the floor. Allow the head to drop and arch the back like a cat. Inhale and open. Exhale and curl. So continuing to move through this movement to your own breath cycle. So it might be longer or shorter than mine. And it really doesn't matter. What matters is to keep breathing and to really move to your breath. So in yoga, we combine breath and movement. And that helps us to stay centered and balanced. And then when you finish the cycle that you're on, coming back to neutral spine. And then moving into spinal balance. So on an inhalation, we're going to lift the right arm and the left leg. And if that doesn't work for you, you can do one at a time. So you can lift just your arm or just your leg. And alternating opposite arm and leg. So every inhalation we lift, and every exhalation we release. And on the inhalation, really flexing the back foot, like you're standing on the back wall. And with the arm, you're reaching all the way from the shoulder. So if you find yourself reaching with the shoulder, reintegrate that shoulder back into your body. And staying strong through the core. So even though you're alternating and really staying on just 2 limbs on the floor, the upper body stays stable, the core stays stable. And again, when you finish the cycle that you're on and you're all evened out, let's press back into child's pose, allowing the hips to drop back over the heels, and either coming into child's pose with your knees together, or taking your knees apart and allowing, keeping your big toes together, but allowing your hips to drop back. So finding your version of child's pose today, and then reaching those arms forward and really grounding down through the hands. So your forehead is on the floor, your hands are pressing into the floor, and your hips are releasing back. So this is a nice stretch for the low back. You might feel it a little bit in the shoulders and armpits. And it's also a pose that's available to you at any time during the practice. It's a wonderful pose to take a break when you feel like you need a break. But continuing that breath. So even though you're taking a break, you're still breathing. And then keeping your hands where they are and really grounding down through those hands. We're going to come back up to all fours, and this time your shoulders are slightly behind your wrists. We're going to move into down dog. So let's start our down dog with real strong hands. So separating the fingers really wide and really pressing down through the triad. So the index finger and the thumb. And then curling your toes under and lifting your hips in the air, lifting your knees off the floor. Maybe walking your feet in a little bit if that works for you. Your feet are about hip distance apart. Same distance as your hands are shoulder width apart. You're letting your head and neck go, but you're staying strong through the arms. So strong through the arms means you're rotating your arms away from each other, pressing down into the triads, being real light on the pinky side of the arms. And at the same time, you're staying strong through the shoulders. So what might happen is that your upper body kind of dips down if you let the shoulders go. So you want to strengthen through the shoulders. And then really lifting the tailbone and back. And in fact, let's lift our heels off the floor, bend the knees a lot, and scoop the tailbone towards the ceiling. And then as you start to exhale, maybe the heels lower towards the floor. They don't ever need to touch the floor. If they do, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine. And breathing. So the first down dog of the day is a great time to check in. Maybe you want to pedal your dog, walk the dog, pedaling your feet, one heel up at a time. Or even if your hips are even, maybe you shake your head yes and no, really releasing any tension. And checking in with where you might be feeling a little bit of tension or maybe a little strain. So where can you let go? While yoga is challenging, we don't want it to be straining or painful. So find out what works for you. And then in the next inhalation, walk your feet to your hands. Maybe you could do it in one step, maybe two. And your feet are about hip distance apart again. And so you can measure that by placing your fists together. And the sides of your feet are parallel to the sides of the mat. So it might feel like you're a little pigeon-toed, but we don't want our feet turned out here. So we want to have good alignment with the knees right over the ankles. And then bend the knees a lot, and maybe so much that your upper body can rest on the thighs. And grabbing opposite elbow, just hanging forward. This is called ragdoll. Not exactly a yogic term, but you get the feeling. It's like you're a ragdoll, just hanging over a clothesline, just really letting go. Another time to check in. And lifting all 10 toes to really feel grounded through the balls of the feet and allowing your body weight to move ever so slightly forward. See how that changes the sensation in the back body. And then releasing your hands to the mat and toe heel your feet together. So your big toes are going to touch, your heels are slightly separated. If that doesn't work for you, you can always keep your feet at hip distance as well. So again, finding what works for you in today's practice, which might be different from what worked yesterday or last week. And then bending your knees a lot And we're going to slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time. Stacking the vertebrae and then rolling the shoulders back and coming to our mountain pose. So our strong standing mountain pose. Maybe lifting those toes again, and as you set them down, really feeling each toe connect to the earth while you're still grounded through all four corners of your feet. And then lifting the shoulders and releasing the shoulders down the back. Palms are facing forward, lots of energy through the hands. Inhale and exhale. And again, inhale, and this time bringing the arms overhead, releasing the shoulders down the back, and exhaling your hands in a prayer position to your heart center. And maybe closing your eyes one more time. You can close your eyes anytime during the practice, actually. That works for you. But setting an intention for today's practice. So maybe for today, your practice is going to be about breathing, or connecting, or letting go. Or maybe you feel like working hard today, but your hard work is going to come within your breath. So if you ever find yourself not hearing your breath, pull back from the pose. Use that as your gauge. And then opening the eyes, inhale up. And exhale, we're going to swan dive forward, bending the knees again a lot, as much as you need to keep the back nice and flat, and then folding forward. Then on the inhale, we're going to lift to tabletop. So pressing the palms into the shins and the shins into the palm so that it helps you bring those shoulders down your back. Head is neutral, gaze is at the floor. Inhale, exhale, bow forward. And again, inhale to tabletop. Exhale, bow forward. One more time. Inhale to tabletop. Exhale. As you bow forward, planting your hands again, bending your knees as much as you need to, and stepping back into high push-up. So plank pose. So plank pose is a very much of a strength building pose. You can always come down to your knees now or at any time when we're in plank. I'm going to keep my knees off the floor, but you can always come down. And then finding strength through the core. So pulling the navel to the spine, opening the heart. So sometimes what happens in plank is you're kind of hunched in the shoulders. So we want to open through the heart and then staying strong through the core. So if the belly starts to sag down, you want to lift that up. You want to be able to look through and see the ankles. If you can't see your ankles, lift your hips a little bit more. And then on an inhalation, we're going to open that heart a little bit more, maybe sliding the chest forward and the shoulders back. And then exhale all the way down to the floor, squeezing the elbows into the chest. Again, bringing your knees to the floor at any time. And then mini Cobra, we're going to turn the feet so the tops of the feet are on the floor, lifting the hands off the floor. And then on an inhalation, lifting up by really engaging through the upper back. So squeezing the shoulder blades together. And then exhale, planting the hands on the floor and moving back into down dog, or moving through your knees and into down dog. So either moving straight into down dog or through your knees, whatever works for you. And then here's our second down dog. So this might feel a little different than the first. Maybe you have a little more range of motion, a little more freedom, a little more balance. Every inhalation, remember the strengthening of the arms so that biceps rotate away from each other. You're light on the pinky side of the hands. And every exhalation, we're moving the weight back into the heels. Inhale, look between your hands. Exhale, step your feet to your hands, again in 1 or 2 steps. Inhale, lifting halfway up. Exhale, bow forward. Grounding down through the feet and bending your knees as much as you need to. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. And exhale takes you down. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, high to low push-up, or all the way to the floor. Inhale to Cobra. So in Cobra, the legs stay on the floor, The chest is lifted. The navel is still tucked to the spine. So if you feel some sensation in the low back, come back down to our mini Cobra and feel how that feels good for your low back. Tuck the navel to the spine, and then maybe from that position, move into full Cobra or even Cobra with bent arms. And then exhaling to down dog through your knees if that's what's working for you today. And then inhale and exhale. Inhale and look between your hands. Exhale and step your feet to your hands. Maybe trying to step with the opposite foot once in a while. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, bow forward. Bending the knees. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. Exhale takes you down. One more sun salutation A. So building some heat. Inhaling up. Exhaling, plant the hands, step back, high to low push-up or to all fours, always an option. All the way to the floor or halfway down. Inhaling to Cobra or to up dog. Exhaling to down dog. Breathing here. Inhale, look between your hands. Exhale, step or float your feet to your hands. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, bow forward. Bending your knees, chair pose. So finding some strength in chair pose. If you're getting a little heated, might be time to start removing a sweatshirt. So in chair pose, we're gonna have our big toes together, or if you're more comfortable again with your feet slightly apart, that's also fine. Either way, we wanna take the shoulders down the back, lifting the chest, and find that tailbone and low back. So what sometimes happens in chair pose is we kind of go into an arch here and a little curve of the spine. So can we bring that tailbone so it's really aimed right down at the floor? Palms are facing each other. Lots of strength in the quads. Building a little heat. Inhale, maybe sit a little bit deeper. And then exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step back. High to low push-up. Remember, moving through your knees is always an option. Inhale, Cobra or up dog. Exhale, down dog. Step the right foot through, spin the back heel. Inhale, warrior one on the right side. We're gonna breathe here. So we're gonna get a little bit of feel for what warrior one feels like. Finding that knee tracking right over really towards the pinky side toe of the back of the front foot. And the back leg is nice and strong. So you're really lifted through that inner thigh. The outer edge of the back foot is pressed to the floor. The arms are lifted with the shoulders released down. It's a nice big bend in that front knee. Lots of freedom, lots of play. Inhaling and exhaling. And beginning to turn your hips and shoulders towards the front of your mat. So sometimes in up dog, we're kind of shifted over to the side. And you start to move that energy forward. One more inhale, maybe a little reach back. Exhale, you can move right into down dog or take a vinyasa, which is the high to low push-up. Inhaling to up dog and exhaling to down dog. Stepping left foot through, spinning the back heel, inhale, warrior one on the left side. Again, breathing here. So finding that strength through both legs. Back leg, back foot, press to the floor, front knee aiming out towards the baby toe side of your foot. Releasing the shoulders down the back. Lots of strength and energy, lots of breath. One more inhale up, maybe a little reach back, and exhale, taking the vinyasa. So high to low push-up, inhaling to up dog, and exhaling to down dog. And we're gonna breathe here. Inhaling, strengthening through the upper body. And exhaling, lengthening through the back body. Inhale and look between your hands. Exhale the air out and then step or float your feet to your hands. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, bow forward. Bend your knees, inhale, chair pose. Exhale, takes you forward. Inhale, lifts you up. Exhale, plant your hands, step back, high to low, push up. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your right foot through, inhale, warrior one. Exhale takes you down, either to down dog or taking the vinyasa, so your choice always. Inhale up to skip those vinyasas. Exhale down. And moving into down dog. Stepping the left foot through, inhale, warrior one on the left side. Exhale takes you down. And if your breath is moving at a different pace than mine, remember you just go to your own rhythm and we'll all meet in down dog, where we breathe. Inhale, look between your hands. Exhale all that air out and step or float your feet to your hands. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, bow forward. Bending your knees, inhale, chair pose. Exhale, takes you forward. Inhale, lifting halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, high to low, push up. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Right foot steps through, inhale, warrior one. Exhale, warrior two. So moving into warrior two, bringing the shoulders over the hips. Sometimes with warrior two, we find ourselves reaching forward. So let's stack the shoulders over the hips and find the reach through the front knee, really reaching out forward and over that baby toe side of the foot. Strength through the back leg again, back foot. Outer edge of the back foot is pressed to the floor. And the heel is the farthest thing from you in the back foot. And then releasing the shoulders down the back. So we're going to stay in warrior two just a few more moments to really get the feel of warrior two, build a little more strength and heat. And to get the feel of dropping the shoulders down the back, let's start to move, turn the palms to the ceiling. And as you lift those pinkies, it helps to release the shoulders down the back. And then flip them back over. Reaching a little more, like you're pulling the mat in two. And then flipping the front palm, inhale to reverse warrior. So nice lengthening along the right side of the body. The left hand reaches down towards the floor. You can rest lightly on the back leg, but we don't want any pressure back there. And then exhale into side angle. So side angle pose, again, we want to find that front knee tracking out over that baby toe side of the foot. And we want to stack our hips. So sometimes what happens here is we start to allow the hips to come back to the back side of the mat. We want to bring those hips forward so the left hip is stacked over the right. And then the arm is over the head, close to the ear, palm facing the floor, and starting to rotate the upper body toward the ceiling. And again, finding strength in that back leg, finding your breath, staying there, or maybe taking a half bind, if that's something that's available to you, reaching around and grabbing the top thigh. Maybe working into a full bind, but only if you can do it without compromising your spine. So if this is a good position for you, staying here. If you want to take the full bind, taking the left hand underneath and reaching and holding, but bringing that shoulder over. So if you find yourself in the full bind that you're hunched over here, you want to take that full bind away and come back up into the half bind or arm overhead. One more inhale and exhale. Eyes to the floor, step back, either to down dog or taking the vinyasa. Inhale to up dog and exhale to down dog. Stepping the left foot through and spinning the back heel. Inhale, warrior one on the left side. Exhale, warrior two. So opening to warrior two. So with warrior two, our hips and our shoulders are facing the side wall, while our gaze faces over the index finger of the front arm. And let's release those shoulders back down again. So be spinning the palms to the ceiling, rolling the shoulders down the back. Finding some strength in those legs, so it's like you're pulling the mat into two pieces. Breathing here. And then turning the front palm Inhale to reverse warrior. And again, lots of strength in the front leg. That front leg still stays bent. The back arm is reaching towards the floor or resting lightly on the back leg. One more inhale, lengthening. Exhale, extended side angle. So tucking those hips under. So again, if you've noticed the hips to kind of move behind you, can you bring them forward and help to open those hips a little more? And then with the upper arm, turn towards the floor, starting to turn the upper body towards the ceiling. And staying here is a wonderful pose. If you want to move into the half bind, taking that top arm, wrapping it around, even reaching through and grabbing your thigh. Staying here, moving into the full bind, as long again as you can do it without compromising that spine. So reaching underneath, grabbing those hands, and then opening up. Again, lots of strength is in both legs. You'll feel it for sure in your front leg. But can you find that strength in the back leg? And can you find your breath? So one more inhale, maybe opening a little more. Exhale, eyes to the floor, plant the hands. Step back, high to low push-up. Inhale to up dog. And exhale to down dog. And we'll breathe here. So this might be a wonderful place to take child's pose. You can also always pause so that you need a little rest, if you need a rest or a drink. Something you can do with a podcast that you can't really do in regular class. And let's inhale the right leg up behind us. Flexing the foot, squaring the hips. And then exhale and step your right foot to your right thumb. So low lunge. Staying here. Or allow it, bringing that back knee to the floor for a kneeling lunge. And if you need a little more cushion under your knee, wherever you're practicing, you can flip that top of the mat over. And then coming up to the knee. So if you're on your knee, great. If you're on the back toes, you're up here. And you can even move into crescent lunge. So either full crescent lunge or kneeling crescent lunge, wherever you are is perfectly fine. One more inhale, and then exhale, bring your hands down to the mat, keeping your left hand on the mat and opening your right arm to the right wall. And again, if you're up on that back leg, it looks just like this. So moving into a little bit of a twist here. Lots of strength in that front leg, again, but lots of strength in the back leg if your knee is off the floor. One more inhale, opening, exhale. Plant the hands, step back, down dog. Inhale, left leg off the floor. Exhale, step the left foot to the left finger, left palm, left thumb. And then dropping the back knee to the floor or staying up. And inhaling up, either to kneeling lunge here, the arms above the head, or if your back knee is off the floor, you're up in crescent lunge. So again, finding what works for you in today's practice. And again, remembering that might be different from where you were yesterday. And then inhaling up and exhaling, bringing your hands back down to the mat. And inhaling the left arm up this time, taking a twist to the left. And again, if you're on your knee, you're just like this. And if you're up here. Breathing here, opening to the ceiling, inhale, exhale, plant the hand, step back. Let's take the vinyasa, so high to low push-up. Inhaling to up dog, and exhaling to down dog. And breathing here. Sighing always feels good. Inhale, look between your hands. Exhale all the air out and step or float your feet to your hands. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, bow forward. Now if you have a block, you bring it next to you. Inhale to chair pose. And exhale your hands to your heart center. So we're going to move into twisting chair. Always on the twist, we want to remember that the first part of any twist is to lengthen the spine. So on an inhalation, we're going to lengthen the spine. Feel the tailbone move to the floor and the crown raise to the ceiling. And then on the exhalation, we're going to turn to the right and paying attention to our knees, that the left or left knee doesn't move in front of the right, which it's gonna wanna do. We're gonna keep those knees together and then bringing the left elbow to the outside of the right knee. Now, if you're way up here, you're not gonna have your elbow outside your knee. The deeper you can get into the chair, the more leverage you'll have to bring that elbow around. So, either way, sitting back into those heels, finding a strong prayer twist. So really pressing the palms together, opening towards the ceiling again. And if this is working for you today, staying here, if you want to extend your arms with either your palm on the floor or reaching towards a block, opening up. One more inhale, lengthen. And then on the exhale, we're going to bow forward. We're going to split our feet to about hip distance apart. Again, outer edges of the feet parallel to the outer edges of the mat. Grab the two big toes with your two peace fingers. Inhale, lifting up. Keeping the neck neutral. Exhale, bow forward. So bringing some weight into the balls of the feet here. The tendency here is to allow the weight to come into the heels. You bring that weight forward a little bit. Not too much so you fall over, but enough so you release some more through that back body. And breathe. Really strengthen and lengthen through the quadriceps. So you'll feel a lot of lengthening through the back hamstrings. Can you lengthen through the front? And also remember, please always know you can adjust these poses to whatever works for you. So if your knees are bent, that's perfectly fine. It's wherever you're feeling some release without the strain. And then releasing the toes and toe healing, feet together, big toes touching. Inhale to chair pose. Exhale your hands to your heart center. Inhale, spine lengthens. Exhale, we twist. Taking care to bring those knees together, so the right knee might have just moved in front of the left, and we bring it back together, pressing those palms together into a nice strong prayer. Staying here with the shoulders released down the back, or opening the arms, hand to the floor to a block. Sitting low, really reaching through that tailbone towards the floor, towards the back wall. Inhale and open, and exhale and drop forward. Again, splitting your feet to about hip distance apart. And this time we're going to bend our knees as much as we need to slide our palms all the way underneath the feet. So you want your toes touching your wrists. So again, as much as you need to bend your knees to do that. This allows you to get a nice stretch through the wrists and the front forearms. And then exhaling, starting to lengthen the legs, but they don't need to lengthen all the way, and dropping your head forward. And breathing, finding that breath. Releasing a little more, letting go a little more. And then releasing the hands. And toe heel the feet back together again. And inhaling into chair pose again. So we're going to move into some standing poses, and we're going to do a standing pigeon. So from chair, we're going to lift our right leg up, crossing the right leg over. So we're going to bring the right ankle to the left knee, like you're sitting down in a chair. So it's just like chair pose, and if this doesn't work for you, you can stay in chair, or you can take your foot, your right foot, to the outside and still bending your knees. So you'll still feel a little bit of sensation. What we're starting to do is open that hip a little more, then flexing this right foot a lot and sitting way back, way back. So what sometimes happens in standing pigeon, we start to stand forward. Can you sit back and start to feel that release? And then bringing your hands to your heart center, inhaling. And if you can, taking that right leg without touching the floor and bringing it all the way back to airplane. And bringing the hands alongside the body with the palms facing the floor, flexing the back foot so your hips again are square, like when we lift it up in down dog. Pinky toe side of the lifted leg is pointed towards the floor. Heart is open, so can you lift those shoulders and roll them back? Maybe even a baby up dog here. Inhale, and then bringing the hands to the heart center again. Inhale here and lengthen. Exhale and bow forward. So again, if you have blocks, it's a great time to have the blocks right there. If you don't have blocks, bringing your hands to the floor or a claw, so being up on your fingertips. And moving into standing split, so allowing your head to drop forward, lifting that leg. And then with standing splits, you can stay with your hands on the floor, you can wrap one arm around, maybe even both, allowing the head to drop forward and allowing that leg to lift. Then moving into balancing half moon. So if your hands are off the floor, bringing them to the floor. And taking the block to the outside of your left foot. So kind of right lined up a little outside the left pinky and in front of your foot. And then taking your hand to the block, your left hand to the block, and your right hand to your hip. So staying here and starting to open that hip to the side by moving your elbow up towards the ceiling. And then maybe even opening your arm, flexing that foot. Inhaling and exhaling. And one more, inhale and open. And exhale, eyes to the floor. Plant the hands. Bring the right leg to meet the left. Bow forward, bend the knees, and slowly roll up to stand. Inhaling your arms all the way overhead. And exhaling your hands to your heart center. And we'll move into prayer twist, or standing pigeon on the other side. So inhaling to chair pose, sitting back into those heels, lifting the left leg up and crossing it over. So remember here again, we want to cross the left ankle on the right knee, sitting back in our chair, flexing the left foot a lot. Finding some strength in that standing leg by really grounding down through all four corners of the foot and finding something to gaze at, your drishti, your third eye. And the last thing is to find that breath. And bringing the hands to the heart center, we'll move into airplane, so lifting the left leg, if you can take it without touching the floor, taking it all the way back into airplane. Hips are square, toes are pointed towards the floor. Palms are facing the floor. Little bit of up dog. Shoulders release back. Inhaling. And then exhaling your hands to your heart center. And dropping down towards the floor. And again, bringing the blocks in front of you if that helps here. Allowing the head to drop down. Moving into standing split. And again, you can have your hands on blocks or on a claw. Really letting your head go will allow you to lift that back leg a little higher. And then maybe bringing your hands again behind your standing leg or keeping one hand on the floor. I'm going to just move back to the front of the mat so I'm stacked like you are. And then moving into balancing half moon. So taking the block to the outside of the right foot, outside of the right pinky toe, planting the hand on the block, and then taking your left hand to your left hip and starting to roll that hip open towards the left side of the room. So the strength in half moon is from both the standing leg, but also the leg that's in the air. So can you lengthen and strengthen that leg like you're standing on the back wall? And then maybe even opening your arm towards the ceiling, starting to spin the chest towards the left side, taking your gaze either towards the left side or even up to your lifted arm. And one more inhale. And then on the exhale, coming forward, lowering the left leg to meet the right, bending the knees, rolling up slowly, inhaling up. And exhaling your hands back to your heart center, maybe closing your eyes and just to feel the good old earth and to remind yourself of your intention for today's practice. And opening your eyes and inhaling back into chair pose. And exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lifting halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, high to low push-up. Inhale to up dog. Exhale, down dog. Stepping the right foot through, inhale, warrior one on the right side. Exhale to warrior two. Inhale into triangle prep, so allowing that right leg to lengthen, right on line. Inhale, reaching forward with the right arm and back with the left hip. Reach, 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 and then turning into triangle. So with triangle pose, it's not important how deep you are in the bend. It's more important to have the hips lined up. So if to get way down here, you're having to move your hips back, you want to bring the hips forward by bringing your arm maybe up to your side today, or maybe just below the knee. Or if you have a block, taking the block to the outside of the leg, maybe on the tall end. And then really finding your feet. So with finding your feet, you're really rooting down through all four corners of the feet and continuing to open those hips. And as you ground down through the feet like someone has hold of your top arm, inhaling and exhaling, standing all the way up. And then squaring your foot so both feet are squared to the short edges of the mat. And taking your hands behind you, interlacing the fingertips. Opening the chest, rolling the shoulders down the back. Inhale, lifting up, grounding down through the feet. Exhale, bow forward. So again, finding the feet. The feet are key in this pose. The legs, the strength, your base. And dropping your hands to the floor. And we're going to take the left hand to the middle of our legs and the right hand to our low back. Inhale and lift halfway up. So it might be you're on a claw or even you're on the block. So you're inhaled up. As you exhale, we're going to start to turn to the right, but pay attention to what might have happened with the hips. Maybe your hips just shifted to the right, and then we want to shift them back. And then start to open the arm towards the ceiling. So still shifting those hips back. They're going to want to move to the right. You're going to want to move them back. Once your arm's in the air, you use the feet really to help move those hips back into alignment. Inhale and open. Exhale and bringing the right hand down and the left hand to your low back. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and start to turn to the left. And again, check what happened with the hips. Did they start to move? And then maybe opening the hand to the ceiling, to the sky. Continuing to shift those hips to the right. Inhale and open. Exhale, dropping the arm down. Bringing your hands to your hips, inhale halfway up, grounding down through those feet. Exhale all the way up. Bringing your right toes, again, squaring them towards the front of the mat. And then stepping that back foot in a little bit. We're going to move into pyramid pose. And so for pyramid pose, we're again trying to square those hips like in warrior one to the front wall. And let's give ourselves a little help. So let's inhale the left arm up and take the right hand and put it right in the hip crease. And as you exhale, first moving into a flat back or halfway down and feel like you're making a hand sandwich. So you're really just folding right over that hand. And then exhaling all the way either to the floor or if you've got those blocks nearby, coming to your blocks, whatever works for you. And remember, if you don't have blocks, you can work on a claw. So your fingertips are on the floor. So we're halfway up. We're lengthening. We're continuing to move this right hip back, maybe even taking your right thumb into the hip crease and moving that hip back. And then starting to fold over the leg. So in this position, if you need to bend that front knee in order to drop down, that's fine. If your back heel is having to stay up, then that's okay too. We want to really focus on moving that right hip back. And then dropping your head down. Again, keeping the blocks if that's working for you. If not, allowing your head to just drop forward. Continuing to move every inhalation, lengthening through the spine. Every exhalation, think of moving that right hip back a little more. And feel a strong sensation in that hip. And then inhale and lifting halfway up. Plant the hands, bend the front knee, step back, high to low push-up. Inhale to up dog. And exhale to down dog. Stepping the left foot through, inhale, warrior one. Exhale to warrior two. And then inhale and lengthen the front leg. Moving into triangle on the left side. So inhaling, reaching to the left with our arms, and the hips are going to the right. And then exhale and opening up. Remembering to stack the right hip over the left hip. Maybe you've been giving yourself a manual check and adjustment. So if when you put your hand on your hip, your elbow is aiming towards the front wall, towards the side of your mat, you want to start to open that shoulder and open those hips. And staying here or opening the arm. But either way, finding those feet, so finding all four corners of the feet, really lifting up through your legs. So you're not really rested on this leg. Or remember, you can also have a block back here if that's helpful to you. Another inhale. And on the exhale, feel like somebody's just holding on to that right arm and pulling you all the way up. And then squaring your feet again. We're going to take one more forward bend, and this time as you interlace your fingers, interlace them the other way, so it feels kind of weird. Then open the shoulders, open the chest. Inhale, ground down through the feet, through all four corners of the feet. Hinge at the hips and bow forward. Allowing the arms to wrap over the head, squeezing the palms together. Remember, if this doesn't work, finding something else that works. Maybe your hands on your low back, or maybe interlacing your elbows. And then inhale, halfway up, hands to your hips. Exhale, all the way up. Turning the left toes towards the front of the mat, stepping the right foot in a little bit, moving into pyramid pose. So starting to shift our hips, even manually using your hands to shift your hips. Inhale, the right arm up. Hand sandwich into that left hip. So you exhale halfway down, kind of a little bit of a check. Maybe manually taking your thumb and rotating that left hip back. And then exhaling all the way down again to the floor, to the blocks with a bent knee, whatever works for you in this pyramid pose. Either way, continuing to move that left hip back and release forward. And then inhale, lifting halfway up, bending the front knee, plant the hands, step back, high to low push-up. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, plank pose. We're going to exhale for 5 counts all the way to the floor. So 5, remember knees is fine. 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Turning your head to one side, taking a little bit of a rest. Then we're going to move into half bow. If you know full bow, you can feel free to take that. We'll do it twice. So if you're doing half bow, we'll do once on each side. So for half bow, let's take the left arm in front of us and taking the right leg, right ankle in your right hand, grabbing the outside of that ankle, and on an inhalation, starting to kick your foot into your hand as you start to lift the chest off the floor. So what we want to do in bow is try to keep the knees in line. So what sometimes happens is the leg comes out to the side. So can we bring it in? And as you kick, you're kicking straight back and lifting up, getting a little back bend as well as a lot of leg strength. And then exhale and release down. changing sides. So left arm comes in front, bending the left leg, or right arm comes in front, I'm sorry, bending the left leg, reaching behind, grabbing hold of the left ankle, flexing the foot, and starting to kick that left leg into your left hand, inhaling as you lift. Little back bend, leg strengthening. Inhale, one more full expression up, and exhale and release down. And just fold your arms in front and rest your forehead on your hands. And then taking the hands alongside your body, we're going to do one more back bend, so Savasana or Locust Pose. So let's take the arms all the way down the body, palms facing the floor. On an inhalation, lifting first the feet, and then the palms, and then the head and chest. We're going to stay here for 5 breaths. So inhaling and lifting. Exhale, releasing the shoulders down. Inhale and exhale. Lengthening and strengthening that back. One more inhale. Exhale and release down. Plant the hands next to the shoulders. Press back into child's pose. So giving your back a nice release. And then coming to all fours and maybe moving a little bit up the mat, crossing your feet at your ankles and rolling back so you're sitting down. And we're going to move into boat pose or Shavasana. So a little bit of direct core work. Now boat pose can start, let's everyone start with holding our legs behind, holding the back of the legs. And another option is to actually put your hands behind here, or to do one leg at a time. Either way, we're gonna hold boat pose for 3 counts. And so if you can take your arms away and that's working for you, or if you wanna lengthen the legs, either way, so that that chest stays lifted. So if you feel that when you went from holding your legs to not holding them and you had to sink back, let's keep hold of them so we can keep that heart open and the chest lifted. One more inhale. And then on an exhalation, bend the knees, cross the ankles, resting the toes on the floor, using the fingertips and palms, lifting the seat off the floor. Coming back down and moving into whatever version of boat pose you did before or a different one. So 3 breaths here. Remember that chest is lifted, heart is open. And one more inhale. And now cross the feet the other way, lifting and lowering. And one more. Lifting up, opening the chest, maybe even a smile, because this is the last one. And then crossing the feet. And again, either planting your toes, or if you can, a little bit of a lift and release. And then planting the feet, taking a block with you. We're going to move into supported bridge. So rolling back, either taking one leg with you or both, onto our backs. We're going to move into supported bridge first. And for supported bridge, we're going to use the block on its tallest piece if you can. So to move into supported bridge, we first move into bridge. So grounding down through the feet, lifting the hips off the floor, maybe shimmering the shoulders underneath the back so the hips are really lifted. And then if it works, taking that block right under the low back and just kind of resting here. So you can close your eyes. This should feel really good. So you need to position the block so it feels good. And if on its tallest isn't working for you and you want to come down, of course, feel free to do that. Either way, so you can feel like you're really released with a little bit of an arch, especially in that upper back. It's a good time to find that breath. Really winding down a little bit here. Just a little more work to do. And slowly lifting the block out and staying in bridge. So now rounding down through those feet, again, shimmying the shoulders underneath, maybe interlacing the hands. Checking at the feet if you can without looking at them. So just, because whenever we're in this position, we don't want to move our neck. We'll move our head and neck. So check in with the feet by just feeling where they're at. So we want them parallel to each other. We want them about hip distance apart. Knees are aimed right over those toes. Inhale, grounding down through the hips. Through the heels, I'm sorry. Feel like the hips, the tailbone is moving towards the feet. And more inhale and exhale and slowly lower down. We're going to do one more bridge, so we're not going to reset the spine yet. So inhale and exhale. And then inhale and lift up again. And moving into your bridge. So 3 breaths. Feet are parallel, knees going out over the toes, tailbone moving towards the feet. And then release down. And now hugging the knees in. And moving into Viparita Karani. So your legs are going to go up to the ceiling. So this is our inversion pose for today. And either staying here, or if you have a block, sliding the block underneath your low back. And again, this pose should feel really, really good. So you want to position that block so that it feels really, really good. And maybe taking your feet down and kind of moving it around a little bit. You usually kind of want it up higher than you might think. So it's not right underneath your hips, it's kind of on your sacrum, so your buns are kind of off of the block, so it feels really restful, restorative. And feel free to close your eyes here. Inversion poses are very restorative as they allow us to kind of reverse the flow of gravity and even look at the world from a different vantage point. And then bringing the knees into the chest and lowering the feet one at a time to the floor. Lifting the hips up if you have the block, sliding the block out. And then hugging your knees in. And rolling up and down a couple times. I'm going to move into fish pose. So coming up, taking the feet out, and then sliding your hands right underneath your hips, your sit bones. And then pointing your toes, you're going to lower down to your elbows one at a time. Then lifting the chest up, start to slide and look back. Sliding down till the crown of the head touches the floor, and then sliding down. And then bringing the knees back into the chest. Rolling up one more time, crossing the feet at the ankles, and moving through all fours into down dog. So moving into pigeon, we're going to do just one more set of core. So lifting the right foot up. Inhaling, exhale, and bringing your knee to your nose. Inhale, lifting it up. Exhale, bringing your knee to your right elbow. Inhale, lift it up. Exhale, knee to your left elbow. Inhale, lift it up. Exhale, moving into pigeon by bringing your right knee towards your right wrist and your right ankle towards your left wrist. Keeping your back toes under, moving that back leg back a little bit, and then allowing the top of the foot to come to the floor. Now what might happen is this right hip may not be on the floor, and that's actually fine. And if it feels good to slide a block under there, you can do that for a little bit of support. It's hard to find exactly where to put it. The more intense that you want your pigeon, the more you bring this right shin parallel to the mat. So when it's tucked in, you'll get a little less intense, and to increase that intensity, you'll open it up, but only again to your degree. So when you're ready and you're set up for your pigeon and your back leg is straight behind you, your foot isn't sickled, you're gonna inhale and lift up, and exhale and start to walk your hands forward. Now what feels really great in pigeon is to just go all the way down, and if that works, great. If it doesn't, you can stack your palms, you can stack fists. Either way, you want to get into a position where you can really let go. So if it's all the way down, that's great. If it's up here, that's great too. You can just rest here. You can also rest your head on a block and just let your arms go. So finding a place to really surrender, to let go. We'll stay in pigeon for a few breaths here to really start to open that right hip. Well, we've really already started to open it. It's really to kind of really release it. So if you feel some sensation in that right hip, we want to just stay with it. So staying with it doesn't mean you can't move. So sometimes moving around feels good in pigeon. You can find another little ounce, just kind of squeeze into a little bit of juice, a little bit of breath. And then when you're ready, slowly walking your hands back towards your leg. Slowly coming up, inhaling up. Curling your back toes under. And if you can, in one fell swoop, taking that right leg back up, all the way back into down dog. Then inhaling the left leg up and exhaling knee to your nose. Inhaling. Exhale, knee to the left elbow. Inhale. Exhale, knee to the right elbow. Inhale. Exhale into your pigeon. So left knee towards the left wrist, left ankle towards the right wrist. Keeping the back toes under, just kind of scoot that leg back. Keep it nice and aligned with the hip. Looking behind you. Checking your alignment, maybe readjusting a little bit, maybe taking the block and sliding it underneath your hip. Inhaling up and exhale, starting to walk forward. And again, finding that place of repose. So if it's on two fists or if it's on the block, if it's all the way down, just finding that place to let go. So letting go can be active though. So if you want the pigeon to continue to sort of feel a little bit of juice, you might need to move around a little bit. You might need to shift. And the shift might come by having your hands, if your arms are outstretched, using those hands to either even pull yourself a little bit forward or even pushing your left hip back and your right hip forward. So kind of seeing what sort of micro movements, micro adjustments can help. And slowly, very slowly, starting to walk your hands back towards your leg. Inhaling up. And this time rolling onto your left hip and bringing your right leg around. And we'll move into a seated forward bend. So as you take your legs out, you might need to move some of the flesh out from underneath your sit bones and feel nice and grounded through your sit bones. And if you have a strap or a towel, you might want to wrap it around balls of your feet. Or you can also just hold on to the backs of your legs. And on an inhalation, lifting up tall. And on an exhalation, starting to hinge forward. So on the hinge forward, we want to have a neutral neck, so not straining at the neck, but nice and neutral. A neutral spine, so we're not arched or hunched over. We're nice and straight, hinging forward, really kind of getting closer and closer. Maybe walking your hands up the strap. If you can reach your feet, great, but that really isn't a goal. So if you've got a strap or even a shirt, you can use your shirt or a towel. Inhale and exhale. So every inhalation lengthens, every exhalation releases. And inhale. And on the next exhale, release all the way forward. This time you can let everything go. Wherever your hands are, just hold on there. And still every inhalation is going to lengthen the spine and the back body, and every exhalation is going to release. Couple more breaths here. And inhaling and slowly, very slowly coming up. Moving the strap if you had it. Moving into a reclined position, and we'll do a reclining twist. So again, taking one or both legs back with you. And then planting your feet on the floor and lifting your hips and moving them just a couple inches to the right. And then extending the left leg out so it's a nice line. Bringing the right knee in, and then allowing that right knee to drop over the chest. With your right arm out to the side like a T or a wing, and your palm on the floor. Allowing your gaze to move to the right, maybe closing your eyes. Just turning your head, and really starting to release through that spine. And then inhaling, your right leg up, bring both knees in, and give yourself a hug. Bring your feet to the floor one at a time. And lifting your hips and moving a little bit to the left this time, and extending your right leg out. Your left knee in, holding the outside of your left knee with your right hand, and taking your left arm out to the side like a T, and allowing that left knee to drop over, turning your gaze over to your left side. Trying to keep the shoulder in contact with the floor. The left shoulder. And inhaling, and then both knees back up. Hugging both knees in again. Starting to move into Shavasana. So if for Shavasana you want to put on a sweatshirt or socks, please take the time to do it so you'll be as relaxed as you can be in your Shavasana, our final resting pose. And if you have an eye pillow, you can keep it with you. So for Shavasana, let's start with the feet about right at the edges of the mat. So they're kind of angled out. And then slowly rolling down, one vertebrae at a time. And finally coming to rest. We're using your elbows to lift your upper back. And then allowing your arms to drop open at about a 45-degree angle and your feet to drop open. And do whatever you need to do to make yourself just a little more comfortable. So if that's maybe scooting your hips down a little bit, moving your shoulders, moving around. So you need to do so that once you release and relax for the next several minutes, you won't need to move at all. Starting to invite some movement back into your fingers and toes. Lengthening your inhalations and exhalations, and slowly bringing your knees into your chest one at a time. Keeping your eyes closed for a few more minutes. Inhaling your right arm over your head. And pulling over to the right side and onto your arm like it's a pillow, and allowing your left arm to drape over your legs. You're in a little cocoon. You're safe in a peaceful space. A space that's always here for you. A place that's inside of you. And using your left hand to push yourself up back into your comfortable seated position, again with our eyes closed for a few more moments, allowing us to enjoy the peace of mind that we've created through your practice, the space you've created in your body and spirit. So bringing your hands to your heart center and inhaling your thumbs to your forehead, your drishti, your third eye. And then bowing forward, the light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me in this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for making time for yourself. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Namaste. On the blocks or on a claw, but really